right, today's topic is an absolute must when it comes to consultations. Okay, so I'm going to be diving deep into the Aesthetic Interest Questionnaire because it's not just some form that you can just check the box on. It really is one of the most powerful tools that you can use to uncover pain points, goals, timeline, getting a commitment, and really begin to build rapport with your patient. Now, this form is only as good if you actually use it, right? If it's used properly, which is why I'm also going to be going over today some really valuable insights on how to introduce this form to your team so that when you go to implement it, right, if it's new or if you have it but it's not being used properly, that it's really a seamless transition for your team to begin to use it in their consultation process. Because simply just adding it in, right, checking the box, right, sending an email, going it over at once with your team in a meeting, it's just not going to cut it. And so what you will never really truly realize the true potential of what's possible with the Aesthetic Interest Questionnaire with that type of strategy in mind, okay? So I want you to picture this, okay? Picture this. If you were to start every appointment with a well-crafted questionnaire that not only enhances your patient's experience, but also significantly boosts your rebooking rates, right? It increases average spend per patient. It fosters loyalty and ensures that your patient knows all the different treatments that you have to offer, right? All the different problems, challenges, pain points that you can solve for them, i.e., you won't lose clients or patients to the competition simply because they didn't know that you had that treatment or that service to offer, right? Isn't that the worst? Now, the Aesthetic Interest Questionnaire will provide you the information that you need, right, to gather all the information that you need to craft a comprehensive combination treatment plan that is a win-win-win. Now, when I say that, I mean it's a win for the patient, it's a win for the provider, and for the med spa. And that is what we are after, right? So to move into implementing this form, right? And this form isn't about just listing all the services that you have to offer, but listing the pain points, the challenges that you can solve, right? Because you're not going to just be listing devices or services because the patient may not know what that device is or that service is, right? But they know that they don't like wrinkles. They know that they don't like unwanted body hair. They know that they want fuller lips, right? So you are going to have on this form pain points, right? Or hopeful transformations that you want to get them to, not services. All right, now let's go in because this is the biggest key, right, of having this form is implementing it with your team. So often I talk to clients and they're really excited about this form because it shows them a pathway of how they're going to increase rebooking rates, increase revenue per hour, not lose to the competition simply because their patient didn't know that they offered a service, right? They get really excited about it. And then they come to back, you know, whether it's a week, a month, or a quarter later and be like, oh yeah, it's like, yeah, it's okay, it's great, right? And what I realized is that it's how they implement this new form with their team makes all the difference in the world because a tool is only as good as you actually using it, okay? So now I want to give you a step-by-step plan on how you can seamlessly integrate this new form or current form if you already have it, but it's falling short with your team, into your consultation process. Okay, so how do you, as a leader, right? You're a practice manager, you're a department head, you're a business owner. How should you go about unveiling this, introducing this, reintroducing this to your team so you can get the full result? So the very first thing, whenever you're introducing something new to your team, is that you want to clearly identify the purpose and the goal behind this, right? We're so busy. We have so much that is already expected of us in our normal role and responsibility. When you add in a new thing to your team, you have to clearly identify what the purpose and the goal is behind it. What is the why, right? Why should they care? Why should they listen? Why should they use it? So you want to clearly define the purpose of this new form, right? What specific information are you aiming to collect, and how are you going to use it in the consultation, right? So you need to make sure that that is clearly defined with your team. You also need to set measurable goals for the form's implementation. Like, is this form going to help you increase conversion rates, improving patient understanding, enhancing the overall patient experience, right? And you're going to include that in your one-on-ones, right? In your team meeting. So have a clear set goal so that you can measure if it's being used properly and successfully, right? We're not just, again, checking the box. Now, you want to make sure that you customize this aesthetic interest questionnaire, right? So that it really is well structured and user-friendly, and that the form aligns to the problems that you solve, right? The services that you offer, membership, financing, consultation objectives, right? And I'm not saying list all of those things. I'm saying the form should give you the information that you need so that you can make a combination or comprehensive treatment plan, so that you can drive them to your membership or a package, so that you can utilize patient financing, right, to develop a high ticket treatment plan. So be really thoughtful on how you create that aesthetic interest questionnaire. And then also you got to train your team on how to use it as well, knowing what your end goal, your end result is going to be. That way it doesn't overwhelm your team or it doesn't overwhelm your patients. The next thing is you have to train on it, right? You got to train your team thoroughly on how to use the form. And it should, again, cover the purpose, importance of the form, right? Really important. Don't skip that, right? You know it's important as the leader, but you can't miss that step with your team. You've got to get that initial buy-in. Then you got to explain the form so that your team can then be able to explain it to your patients, right? And address their questions. So you got to think that, and I'm not saying this like disrespectfully, but you got to dumb it down to like the lowest common denominator. Like communication always says that you got to speak to people at third grade level. Okay. So make sure that that's possible for your team and for the patients. And then the last thing is that make sure that your team is using it when they're making recommendations in their treatment plan, right? And that's going to help them move away from that a la carte one and done, or you came in on my schedule just for some Botox, right? And help them to introduce more services, a more comprehensive treatment plan when they use the answers that they got in that aesthetic interest questionnaire when they are making their recommendations. So make sure that they are actually using the tool in the treatment plan. Next, you have to role play some different scenarios, right? And how questions are going to come up, and how maybe your A players, your all-stars, how they would use the form to build comprehensive treatment plans, right? Because everyone's style is a little bit different. So especially if you have less experienced team members, you really want to rely on your more experienced team members to give example and verbiage of how they would use the form to build a comprehensive treatment plan, to build trust with their patient, okay? The next thing is you need to monitor progress, right? You got to continuously track and analyze the outcomes, the conversion rates, the patient satisfaction, and really, you know, the end result, the end goal, right? Is it helping us increase our rebooking rates? Is it helping us increase our membership, our high ticket packages? at the end of the day, right, is it moving the needle? The next thing is that you need to be open to addressing any challenges or concerns from your team, right? So you need to collect that feedback. If they have questions or objections, address those head on, because maybe you need to fine tune your form or your training, right? Or maybe they need more support. You need to get that feedback from your team. If you implement it right and set it and forget it without checking in, without getting that feedback, you're never really going to know if they're actually using it, if it's actually doing what the intention is, which is to increase revenue, satisfaction, rebooking rates, right? It's just going to be another form, another duty, right? And it's really annoying for patients to fill out a form that then isn't actually used at the end of the day. So it's really important that you collect feedback and that you celebrate success, right? You got to acknowledge and celebrate milestones and successes achieved when your team uses the form, and you need to recognize their efforts, right? Even just their efforts and their improvements. And that feedback to them is going to go a long way. It's going to make them more willing, right, to give you feedback on its usability and its effectiveness. And when they do that, you want to make sure that you are really considering their input that they're giving you, right? Because there's potentially new improvements that can be made to the form. There's potentially improvements that can be made to their KPIs or benchmarks or goals. So you need to be open to receiving that. And you also need to be open to receiving feedback from the patient as well, right? A common feedback that I do get from patients having to fill out the form, like, I was in last month and I already completed that form, right? If this is something new to existing patients, is making sure that your team is given the proper scripting to educate your patients that's been with you for 5-10 years. Right now, all of a sudden they're having to fill out this form again, and really make sure that you're positioning it correctly, right? Which is, it's like, hey, things change all the time, right? Maybe you have an event or a vacation or a concern that wasn't addressed or you didn't have last time that you came in. So we just want to make sure that we're able to completely take care of you, right? And it's really as simple as that, saying it with confidence, saying it with that there is value behind it. And that habit is going to be created, and it's natural, right? When I go to the doctor's office and the dentist and any other medical provider, right? It doesn't matter if I was in there the day before, the week before, the year before, I have a whole stack of paperwork that I have to fill out every single time, right? Same with my kids, every single time. So you don't need to apologize for it. Just give them the why with a smile, and they're going to jump on board. Another thing I love to do is secret shopper, right? You can provide and get an unbiased opinion, right, from an outsider, an objective evaluation that's really going to uncover some blind spots potentially. So I love to do regular intervals of secret shopper evaluations, and just make it a part of your evaluations and training opportunities with your team, right? And it's the way you position it. It's not supposed to like catch someone doing wrong, right? You're not trying to get anyone in trouble here. We want to ensure that you are delivering a 5-star luxury experience that patients love, right? And we also want to make sure that we're doing everything possible, right? And the tools that you've been provided, that you're actually using them. So it's the way you position that secret shopper and making it a normal thing that they should expect. And the final couple things is that, guys, this is ongoing, right? You potentially are going to need to refine your form over the years, right? But you certainly need it to, because it's such a key element, that you need to be talking and training and role playing regularly, because this is a gateway to comprehensive treatment plans, right? So if you are an all-star player and you're utilizing the tool to pull all the information that you need to create a comprehensive treatment plan and actually get a commitment to getting started, then that should be shared, that should be celebrated, that should be invested in sharing with less experienced team members so that you can bring others up to that same level, okay? And you need to maintain consistency, right? It's important for your team members and it's important to your patients as well, that they know what to expect. So this is the way that we do things at Premier Med Spa. This is the way we do things at, they just need that consistency, not, oh, sometimes we do it, sometimes I don't. All right. So if you noticed, I hope you did, the framework of implementation that I just shared with you followed the 4 key elements of an effective system, right? Input, process, output, and feedback. It is really important when you are implementing something new into your system that you have those 4 key elements to be able to have a system that you can rely on, that anyone can do easily and get a good, consistent result, right? That really is the definition of a system, right? And when you have a system, you're going to have greater efficiency, productivity, right? Control. Who doesn't like that, right? And so that is what we are after. So by following the steps and really maintaining focus on ongoing training and improvement is when you're going to be able to successfully implement, or if you already have this tool, optimize your consultations and achieve those desired outcomes that you are really going after in your consultation. So the Aesthetic Interest Questionnaire is a powerful tool. It's so powerful when used properly. It's going to significantly increase and boost your rebooking rates, your average spend per patient. It's going to foster loyalty with your patients and ensure that they don't go to the competition, right? Because they just didn't know that you offered something. So be sure to customize an aesthetic interest questionnaire that's going to set your team up for success. And then when you implement it, don't just check the box. Implement a systemized approach into your business, okay? Input, process, output, feedback, all right? Okay, thanks guys for joining me. If you loved this training, make sure that you share it with your team or another med spa that could benefit. You can catch the replay on my YouTube channel, and to get access to more free trainings that will help grow your med spa, visit my link tree in my social bio, and be sure to join me live every single Wednesday at 2:30 Central Time, same place. Find me on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Thanks, guys.